Thank you, Justin, for the invitation. Thank you all for listening, and I'm looking forward to your reflections. This paper was meant for section 2, media and politics, but I don't mind delivering it for this section, science and faith, because I think I have something to say. Let me say, yes. Okay, I start with the keywords. I will be talking about co-creation. Co-creation is a category of innovation economics. It's been going around rather much in the last 7-8 years. It dates back to 2000. It's a paper by Prahalad and Ramaswamy in the Harvard Business Review. That's the focus of my paper. I shall be talking about cultural innovation. Nobody knows about cultural innovation, but I will tell you about science innovation. And then I have the two truth models of my titles, epistemic autonomy and epistemic communitarianism. Epistemic injustice is a matter of fact. It's there. And open innovation is related to co-creation. That's the big thing of Commissioner Carlos Moedas, who ran the ECRTD, you see it here, ECRTD, European Commission Research and Technological Development. That's an old acronym. Today it's called R&I, Research and Innovation. And Carlos Moedas was a commissioner from 2014 to 2018. Now it's been replaced by Maria Gabriel, and it was preceded by an Irish lady, Meyer Geoghegan Quinn. Moedas put a lot on open innovation, which is based on the open science paradigm. I'll be talking about post-truth, obviously, and I'll be talking about societal readiness, which is not preparedness. Preparedness is a CDC, is mandatory. Readiness is you do it voluntarily because you have understood it. Okay, as I promised, I will be giving you a few figures. I had the privilege of representing Italy in 3 program committees of the European Commission during Horizon 2020, namely Science with and for Society, which has a budget of 874 million euros, not much, but not less. And currently it has no budget because it's been embedded. So it's supposed to be in all possible actions. We can discuss about that. So I have the second program committee, which was headed by Professor Cristina Messa, who was very effective. She's currently a colleague of Madame Catavia because she's the Minister of University and Research. And she was the head of the Italian delegation. I was representing social science and humanities. The budget here is 2.5 billion, which is 2.5% of the whole pie. The whole pie is 80 billion for 7 years, for 7-year program, and it was going to be enlarged to 125 billion for Horizon Europe. It is this period, this multi-annual financial period, but the withdrawal of the United Kingdom brought a severe reduction to 95. And then the societal challenge, the societal challenges, which have now a different name, it used to be innovative, inclusive, and reflective societies. Now it's called the Culture and Creativity Inclusive Society. They used to have a budget of 1.3 billion. Now they have 2.28 billion, but the budget has been increased, so it's not so much. Now, I want to start with this Rome Declaration on Responsible Research Innovation, which is a breakthrough we had. At that time, the ministers were Dario Franceschini, Stefania Giannini, and Paolo Gentiloni for Italy. And we hosted the Presidential Conference of the European Union on Responsible Research Innovation. And given that we had this obligation, we also wrote the Rome Declaration on Responsible Research Innovation. We were the first, together with Commissioner Moedas, to make the point that Excellence today is about the more and groundbreaking discoveries. It includes openness, responsibility, and co-production. So that was the start. And I'm talking November 14, and I've been doing this since then. And most of European research policies have been rotating around these notions. So democratizing scientific research innovation is something you know from Eric von Hippel, the great theorist of open innovation. And the point I'm making is we have to look into local communities. And eventually, this is what we are working for, is we provide evidence-based policies for multi-level reforms. By multi-level reforms, I mean municipality, region, nation, and Europe. And the idea is value-sensitive integration. So if you want to value, and I mean also religious beliefs. But let me start again with what I said yesterday, just to make it sure. Topic 1.1, Aristotle makes it clear that either we talk about phenomena or we talk about endoxa. Phenomena are facts, and endoxa are opinions, accepted opinions, opinions we share. For phenomena, we argue by means of apodexis. And apodexis gives aletheia. Aletheia is truth. And for endoxa, we argue by means of eristike, which is sophistry, if you want, the same methods Plato used. And what we get is pistis, faith, belief. So these are the two coordinates that also structure this paper. New wave of public engagement, co-creation is a key resource. Researchers are not just consumers of data and tools, they are also providers. It's an exchange. I confer data and I retrieve data. I retrieve data, I confer data. And so process of co-construction, co-evaluation, co-funding, co-production, how do they work on content? And how can society be integrated towards approaches that are value sensitive? These are the great questions that the science with and for society has. And eventually, public spaces. And the public spaces are libraries. The first place that I think about when I'm connected with this is I go to the library. So libraries are spaces of exchange in which citizens share their experiences while appropriating common goods. So libraries play a role in fighting post-truth. We have to say that. And it's not only libraries, it's museums, it's science centers. And now we can do it better. So it's any place in which co-creation activities occur. And here I have this very nice example of the digital research infrastructure for the arts and humanities, DARIA, which we were able to build thanks to the decisive support of Cristina Messa at that time, Gino Nicolais, president of the National Research Council, and Ministro Franceschini. So we were able to be there at the beginning, and we have done something sensible, I think. Now, just to give you an idea, I can come back on that, but I was in Helsinki for a meeting of the International Institute of Philosophy, and I went to visit the new library. It's fantastic. Imagine a 3-floor Finnish architecture building, beautiful to see. On the first floor, you have check-in, check-out of books, wardrobe, cinema, restaurants. On the third floor, you have books, okay? Books on paper, not many books. You have many reading positions, but you have couches, steps, people reading everywhere, laptops mostly. So people are reading from their laptops. And then there is a beautiful terrace in which people just relax. On the second floor, neither books, no checkout. What do you have? Well, famously, it's in the newspapers. They have sewing machines to teach children how to mend their clothes. And they have 3D printers to show children that they can print what they've done. And especially, they have 6 glass-walled meeting rooms. Now, a glass-walled meeting room with sitting 12 people, 2 monitors. Every citizen can register, bring a group, show figures, pictures, and invite other people to join, so that it's very effective. I mean, this ought to be generalized. That's one point I'm making. Public libraries ought to be spaces of exchange for groups. And the good thing about DARIA is that it's the only research infrastructure that is built upon communities of practice. So we are organizing 25 working groups. And these working groups are the ones likely to meet in these library glass-walled rooms, you see. And obviously, these groups start with the most basic, which is photo tagging. They get together because they have the material and they want to order it, and they do it collectively, and they are not physically, some are physically there, some are not. But from the most basic activity of photo tagging, they can do so much more. So my position is that if we have spaces of exchanges, if we bring people to talk, if we bring people to talk the way we do it today, namely physically and connected, we can do giant steps. So this is an example, but there are many others. There is one book of the Pass Acta of 2017 that was edited by Pierpaolo Donati, very interesting book, which you can retrieve, possibly Marcelo will give you one. And again, participatory government, participatory democracy, obviously is a problem of exclusion. So the Matthew effect, the one that participate, they can participate more and get more of the whole intercourse. But the problem is people that do not participate. This is the problem, if you want, of every science centers in all over the world. In Portugal, for instance, the Ciencia Viva network. It's a very interesting experiment of Minister Heitor, and it works. But obviously, we are still missing a part. And you know what is a self-excluded group? 25, 35 male. They never participate. Because they have better things to do, apparently. But we have to reverse that too. Okay. Now, the basis of this, and then I'll come to the proposal, is experiential knowledge. Experiential knowledge is a notion that I've been working on since my friend Dominique Fauré, who is an economist in Lausanne, EPFL. And so it's a knowledge of the experience of the individuals and organizations. It's not anti-scientific. It's not anti-scientific. It simply doesn't have scientific status. So it is something that people do together, like photo tagging. Nonetheless, it is wide-ranging, sound, rational, and effective. Appunto, it is more on process than on contents, and belong to the past. The mono-stakeholders alliances belong to the past. Local partnerships that connect research and development and innovation, in which citizens appear, and possibly diverse stakeholders. And the last thing is that experiential knowledge is fragile. It's fragile because it's related to the life expectancy, to the lifespan of the ones that initiate. So if we don't intervene, experiential knowledge is lost. So it's really running against the time, but it's a treasure we have, and we have it in Europe, we have it in our regions. I have some case studies of Italian inner areas. But the logical dimension is this. Co-creation lies between two extremes, scientism and post-truth. So scientism is a narrow concept of science. Science is only for scientists. The science is only for theory. Science does not belong to society. We have to come to terms with this. Science has an intercultural society. And second, post-truth. And post-truth is what we're talking about here. Means the social and political misuse of alternative facts, lies, fallacious arguments that are widely communicated to achieve either economic profit or political advantage. So you know about that. We've been talking. And post-truth survives thanks to the general indifference as regards fact-checking and verification. This is something I was writing 6 years ago, and it's not before President Trump. But fighting post-truth requires a commitment to truth. And that's what we are here. So we're not talking about opinions. Collected knowledge, result of a free and rational discourse between all participants who are affected by the subject matter to be decided upon. So land allocation, climate change, again, vaccination. Now, sorry, I'm studying Chinese, so I wanted to bring up a Chinese word, Xinxin, first tone, fourth tone. It's a Chinese word for news. It is interesting because Xin is trustworthy, and Xin, fourth tone is new. So it is about a new that is trustworthy. Otherwise, I'm not saying it. Just saying something new doesn't mean in Chinese they connect. And so Xin, which is trustworthiness, is part of the 5 virtues, Wu Chan. And so it's eradicated, and I'm always ready to talk about China as soon as you think. So now I have 2 examples, but you know them. They were the ones we read about in July when President Pope Francis warned against the violent genocide caused by the tendency to favor the alleged good of the economy, and oh, thank you. And President Biden was also talking, and on their way, 1,200 physicians on the Lancet appealed to Prime Minister Johnson not to go forward with this decision, with these things of July. You remember that. Now, societal readiness means that people do voluntarily as soon as they are engaged and they are in a relation for which they can account for. So this is how we have been working very much in Italian inner areas after the quake of 1216 and 1217, because it ravaged, it was not many deaths, but it was really devastating all over 4 regions. And the municipalities had to explain to the people how they were to behave for building back better, that is to avoid the next disaster. And they had no mandatory power, like is the case for the science, but they worked on readiness, and the response was good. So then trained the trainers. So we worked for the municipal authorities to have them develop activities that reached the communities so that they answered by buying additional insurances or by refurbishing their houses. So this is an example of societal readiness that has worked. And the epistemological dimension of co-creation is, again, Prahalad and Ramaswamy. This is something you know. So let me come to the 2 models. The first model is epistemic communitarism. They say knowledge is a social status, possession of groups, testimony is not a generative source of knowledge, but we work together. And this is an example we were making with the people in Missouri that were denying the efficacy of vaccination. So I belong to this group. But we have the second truth model, which is epistemic autonomy. I mean, think with your own head. And to bring reasons to bear in directing one's conduct and influencing one's propositional attitudes. And we know that there is an epistemic injustice, and we know that we have to come to terms with epistemic paternalism, but we can come to terms with that. And this is the way to go, obviously. It is people have to think with their own head and make a comparison to what the group thinks. But I've been discussing this with the Kantians in some meetings a month ago, and we agree on this, that epistemic autonomy and epistemic communitarism are 2 faces of the same medal. 2 faces of the same medal. That is the process of deliberating on one's immediate concerns is either conditioned by the community or is the expression of my own autonomy. We have 2 faces of the same medal, but obviously we know that we have to encourage epistemic autonomy. And we encourage epistemic autonomy by education. This is something we said. Reflectivity is very important because, and here I come to the conclusion. Do I have 1 minute? Okay. which is what is cultural innovation. Well, cultural innovation is something that comes up after technological and social innovation. We have defined it in a paper which I would like, which is being quoted. It has appeared on Science and Public Policy last year, and we have defined a social and cultural innovation as a series of processes. First is access. You need to have access to the content. Second, you have to create groups. You don't do it alone. You do it communities of practice or participation, second part. Third part is use. You actually use the content. You leave a footprint, which is all right, because we're talking about same thing as borrowing books from a library, only in this case it's traceable. And then two processes which are very important, an individual process of reflection, that is use your head, epistemic autonomy, and a collective process of inclusion. Let's go together in the right direction, which is epistemic communitarism. Yes, these are my propositions. Thank you.